Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Kimberly Boscheman and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, I wanted to take some time to sort of dissect and talk about this incredibly profound, powerful conjunction that we have coming up on February 20th, 2026, which is, of course, the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. This is a transit that has not occurred since, over 7,000 years. Now, Saturn and Neptune conjoining is normal and happens often. However, Saturn conjoining Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries has not happened for, again, over 7,000 years. So this is a really important point in history, a really important marker in the evolution of humanity. And not to sound dramatic, but it is a turning point. It is an opportunity for a greater shift and transformation that we are all going to play a tremendous role in, whether we want to or not. And so it's really important to understand how we're meant to show up in this moment, how we can best play our role well in this moment. And so what I wanted to do was, of course, talk about this conjunction and the numerology of this conjunction. I also recommend following an astrologer that you feel a connection with in order to dive really more deeply into the astrology of this moment of history. But for the numerology, we're going to break it down and talk about the energies that it's sort of really putting an emphasis on and a focus on, and what's really being initiated with this conjunction. But I also want to go through each life path number and talk about, instead of how this may affect you directly, because I really do think you need to have me or an astrologer look at your astrology to see where this conjunction is taking place for you and what points or planets are being affected, in order to understand the personal impact that it will have on you. But what the numerology can really help us to understand, sort of again, in conjunction with the astrology, is how to best use our gifts, how to best participate, and how to best show up in this moment of incredible change. And so I'm going to break it down again by life path number to let you know how you're being called to show up now and in the future, again, as we enact this change, as we're such a big part of it, to understand how your life path energy plays a crucial role in this. And of course, you are your life path energy basically, or you're on this journey to step into that energy. So I think it's really important to understand that. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. Now, before we break this down, please know that I'm doing this for each life path, true life path, so 1 through 9. So that means master numbers, pay attention to or watch for your core life path number. So 2, 4, 6, 8 accordingly. And as always, timestamps will be provided in the description box as well as in the comment section for my YouTube channel. Also, this is a general reading, and if you'd like your own personal numerology reading, please book some time with me. My information's in the description box below, and I'd love to work with you. Okay, so February 20th, 2026, we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's happening at 0 degrees of Aries. Now, for the numerology, this is going to be happening under the influence of the 5, very appropriate for this energy. And anytime we're working with 5 energy in a cycle, it gives us an opportunity for change and transformation and major significant shifts that occur because of greater awareness, because of aha moments or lightning bolt levels of awareness where we were blinded to something or we couldn't see fully, but the veil is lifted, things become very clear. There's no question about what is happening, what needs to happen in order to enact that change that's necessary. When we move through a 5 cycle, this is disruptive energy. This is a shakeup. This is time to move forward, to think unconventionally, to take unconventional action, to do things differently, to think outside the box, to be more progressive. And it's a push for that greater evolution. Usually when we move through a 5 cycle, it's an opportunity to, again, shake up those areas of life where we have become stagnant, where we have become too rigid, where we've become stuck. And so we can think of this Saturn Neptune conjunction as one of the starting point for this significant shift on a global stage, like on a global level, that of course will also impact us individually, because the individual plays a role in the collective atmosphere. Now, this can be seen as that point in history where we're taking a look and saying, okay, where has humanity gotten stuck over the course of the last, let's say, 7,000 years? Where have we continued to build on systems and institutions and a collective belief system that is outdated, that serves few as opposed to serving the all, where it's become quite toxic, and where evolution is no longer occurring? Like, it might feel like we're evolving, but it's more like we're just running in circles, creating more tragedy for ourselves. So this conjunction, you could kind of look at it as, or the way I sort of look at this, if I look at Saturn to me is that heavier energy. It's that more practical energy. It's kind of like 4 energy in a lot of ways, right? It's very of the physical plane. It's also of karma, but it's very much that putting in the effort, showing up to get the job done, to create, to build what is necessary in order to have structure, security, longevity. And so to me, it really represents, in this context, the human experience, right? Whereas Neptune, to me, in this context, really represents the more spiritual nature of things. It's the higher octave of Venus. So it's sort of in the clouds, right? It's the spiritual side of things. It's the dreamier side of things. It's the idealism, the optimism, the hope. It's also that energy of wanting to bring heaven to earth type of thing. It's that energy of the spirit, of the soul, of inspiration, also creativity. So when we have these two coming together, it really sort of metaphorically represents the merging of the soul and the ego, working in tandem, working together in order to create something better, to fulfill those greatest dreams, right? To build our dreams, to create our dreams, to bring our dreams to life. And I don't think most people dream of a world where there are wars and discord and disarray and complete disregard for human life or life in general or the planet, or you just name it, right? I don't think most people want that for themselves or for their children or families or future generations. I think most people would love if we were able to experience this life and get the most out of it, the most joy, the most creativity, the most opportunities for creation, the most equity, the most equilibrium, like all the beautiful things. And so, we sort of need to have that idealism as we move to create a better world. And first recognizing sort of where we're coming from, what the foundation is and has been, and what's not working. And over the course of the last several years, we've started to see a crumbling of the old world order, so to speak, and that continues to crumble, right? The secrets are continuously revealed, the understanding, the aha moments, the clarity. And we're now getting to a point where we have that clarity, we have that understanding of what's not working. And though this isn't the end of the storyline, we don't know how it's going to end. We don't know how it's going to, where we're going to be in, let's say 10 years or 18 years once Pluto leaves Aquarius. We don't know what that's going to look like. But what we can know is that the universe, God, our souls, the unseen, are working in tandem with us, humanity, to not only help us to understand where change needs to occur, but to also start to think about how, our role within that change, how we as an individual need to show up to that change, and so we can build a better future for the collective that we are also a part of. So we have an opportunity here, again, to enhance this human experience. We don't want to bypass this human experience, but we have an opportunity here with this conjunction. Again, it's like an initiation, a starting point. We have an opportunity to face the difficulties, the challenges that are before us, decide how we want to confront that and approach that and rectify those issues, and what it is that we want to gain from it, like what it is that we want to build from it. Remember, Neptune is the dream, is the idealism. Like in an ideal world, what would an ideal world look like for you and your family and your community? And now how can you be a part of constructing that, of building that, of being a part of that? Recognizing that first we have to release and disengage from the things that are literally holding us back and keeping us stuck, and recognizing that that's going to be uncomfortable because it's what we're used to, what we know the results of. It's kind of like that when we read about abusive relationships. Sometimes it's difficult to leave those abusive relationships because it's the known, and the unknown can be much scarier than the known because we are creatures of habit. We don't like change. So when change comes in, it can feel chaotic and disruptive and terrifying at times. But we have to believe that change is necessary in order to evolve, to grow, to expand, to step into, or to create something better. First, we have to recognize our worthiness of that we deserve something better, that we as humanity deserve something better, even though we've been going against ourselves for so long. And again, I'm not saying everything that humanity has done has been horrific and terrible and all those things. Of course not, right? We've had evolution, we've had growth, but there's still this element of sort of going in circles, right? Being on loop. And the Saturn and Neptune conjunction gives us an opportunity to make a major shift, to shift the timeline, so to speak, and recognize that we're not serving ourselves, and we're certainly not being of service to others with the way that the world currently works. So this conjunction, again, Neptune being of a higher octave, being the dream, the ideal, and reminding us that we can have that, even though we don't maybe know how that needs to take place, what needs to take place in order to get there. But that's the beauty of Saturn. Saturn comes in and says, I can show you the way. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of work. There's going to be a lot of challenges and obstacles that you're going to have to overcome, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But if you keep showing up and you keep putting in the effort and you keep doing the work, you're going to create that idealistic nature or a world that you're trying to create for yourself and for future generations. And I just see it as what an awesome time to be alive, even though there's so much injustice and so much tragedy in the world. There will always be the polarities. There will always be polarities because this is a universe of polarities. And I don't think that we can truly escape that. But we can make decisions and take actions. And we are that powerful. We can make decisions and take actions that can help to build that better world. Because, like it or not, we have built humanity, right? Humans, we have built the world that we see today. Humans built money. Humans built borders. Humans built hierarchy. You know what I mean? Like, we have built this. So why do we believe that we can't build something better? That we can't build something totally different? Or incorporate the things that are working and build on those? And release and discard the things that are not working? And like rebalance systems, rebalance power dynamics, rebalance, the masculine and the feminine energies in the world, finding that greater balance. And we are certainly capable of that. And that's kind of like what I see as the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, is that reminder, the sort of, in your face, blatant reminder from the universe that humans are very powerful beings. We have the intelligence, we have the wherewithal, we also have the soul behind us to build the experience we want to have. But it's like usually fear or a wounded ego or an inflated ego that stands in the way, that sabotages that growth, that expansion, that sort of jump to a higher timeline. And I just think we're being granted such an incredible opportunity at this time to make different choices and to show up in a different way and to engage in a different way and to not accept the status quo, because the status quo is no longer working and it hasn't been working for a very long time. So it can be such an empowering point of history where we say, okay, I don't like X, Y, and Z that I see happening in the world. How do my individual actions contribute to those negative, aspects? So like, am I super judgmental? Am I judgmental towards my neighbor? Am I divisive in the way I speak to people? Or, you know what I mean? So, or do I approach the world from a lens of unity, wanting to bring people together, have conversations, see where the disconnection is and bring those points of connection? All of these things. We make these choices throughout the day, every day, in how we want to show up and what's best for us and what's best for our communities and the global community. But we have to be conscious about that. And we have to be very recognize when we are contributing towards the status quo that is no longer working and it's actually to our own detriment, and make a conscious decision to continuously move towards something better in our day-to-day routines, like how we show up individually each day, because we can't save the world. Like, one person is not going to save the world, but each individual person making a conscious decision day to day through their daily actions can have a tremendous impact in the world, in the collective. Again, I always say, you can tell the health of the collective based on the individual actions, right? Like, if the health of the collective is sour, is not good, is negative, that means that the majority of individuals are showing up in that energy. So when we shift that perspective or shift, that decision-making process, and we decide that we're not going to meet that heavier negative energy where it's at, we're going to choose to show up in a higher octave on repeat. And the more people start to do that, the more we start to see the shift collectively. I mean, it's energy, it's science. It's not even like woo talk. It is energy. So we have to be very conscious of our own personal energy, of our emotions, of how we express those emotions, of our creativity, of how we express that creativity. We have to be very conscious of that, because energy is power and it affects other energy. So this conjunction coming in as 5 energy is saying it's time for a point of evolution. It's time for something more progressive, something better, some kind of systemic change, some kind of change at the root of things. And it's not going to happen overnight, but through our own individual actions and our own individual decisions, right? Deciding to be a part of the solution and not continue to contribute towards, what's not working, then we start to see that shift slowly but surely. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. But this is also sort of like non-negotiable energy. And I talked about that in my week ahead forecast for the week of the 16th, because we have the eclipse that's happening in the sign of Aquarius on the 17th. And then we have this conjunction happening on the 20th. So within this week, this is one of those opportunities. It's not even really an opportunity. It's just a point of divine intervention, truly, where we've had the invitation for thousands of years to sort of do right, to choose to take into consideration the greater community, how our actions affect others. And, we've sort of failed in that area because, again, we have built the reality that we live today. Humans have. And we're responsible for that. We're responsible for cleaning it up. We're responsible for taking ourselves in a different direction, doing better. Going the other direction is easier, right? Staying in the status quo, continuing to show up in the way that we've been showing up is easier because, again, it doesn't require any change. It just requires to show up. It's uncomfortable because obviously it's not working, but it's easier. And so we're being confronted with where it is that we are choosing to stay in this loop of separation, disarray, war, whatever, conflict, etc., because we're afraid of like the unknown. And this Saturn Neptune conjunction, along with this eclipse, along with this 9 cycle that we're working with the week of the 16th, it's all saying, our hands are going to be forced at this time. We still have free will, of course, but events will likely take place in, now and in the coming months and years where it's a divine intervention. It is the universe conspiring to assist humanity in doing better, making better choices, evolving, growing, expanding, elevating, not bypassing the human experience, but amplifying the spiritual connection within that human experience. Like there's meant to be no more of the disconnect between soul and ego. There needs to be a merging where they're working in tandem. And this is an opportunity to do that. Now, there will certainly be some people who, again, don't feel ready to release that status quo, don't feel they have the courage or the desire because maybe it's working for them. Maybe they are benefiting from it. But this is a time when we are meant to be looking at what benefits all, what benefits humanity as a whole, the earth as a whole, all living beings as a whole, not just the individual. So if you're somebody who has benefited from the system, benefited from, the tragedies of others in some way, shape, or form, whether you're aware of it or not, then you're going to be more apprehensive of wanting to see that change. And this is the time where that change is going to happen. That change is going to happen one way or another. And humans can either choose to be a part of that change and be a part of that creation, right? Creative process, or we can choose to stay in the old ways. And, I believe that will probably lead to our own extinction. Like, I feel like that, if humans go through some kind of mass extinction event, it's going to be because of humans. It's going to be because of our own actions. So this is sort of like that come to Jesus moment where we have to decide, do we want to build a better, do we want to build longevity? Do we want to evolve? Do we want to grow? Do we want to build sustainable systems and institutions and ways of life for all? Or do we want to keep feeding into a system that's broken and that's not working? So with this 5 energy coming in, it's saying the change is here, like it's happening. And it's up to us how we choose to participate fully. And it's sort of that opportunity to recognize that whatever we decide, we are going to have to face the consequences of that. So it's in our best interest to choose wisely, to go, to be adaptable, to go with the flow, because we're not going to have the insight to know like exactly what we need to do in order to get to the destination of what it is that we're trying to build. But we can take it step by step. We can go with the flow. We can be confronted with what we need to be confronted with and then address that. And we can, take the action that's necessary in order to continuously remove what's not working and build on what is working and incorporate more of that through our actions and our decisions. We always have a choice, but this change is going to occur. Absolutely. With Pluto in Aquarius and the Saturn Neptune conjunction. And then we have Uranus moving into Gemini later this year in April. So, there's just so much happening that indicates there are forces at play larger than the human experience that is saying this change is necessary and it's happening. So you can either get on board with it or you can stay stuck in the realm of what's not working and deal with the consequences of that. But ultimately, at the core of all this is the changes necessary to bring us together, to unify humanity, to recognize that, again, we are a part of nature. Nature is a part of us. We are all connected energetically. And, the ways of the ego, creating the divide, creating the separation, creating the man-made borders and boundaries, the hierarchies, is not serving humanity, is not serving our progression forward. It's not progressive in any way, shape, or form. It's actually going against our own interest. So I don't know what the solution is, right? But I think that if we are open to what these transits and these energies are trying to show us, then we can be a part of that solution and we can help to build that better experience for all. But again, we have to consciously choose to do so and not turn a blind eye to the injustices that we see occurring, to, the wrongs that we see happening, to the things that we know are not natural and go against the good for, the greater good for all. So that takes courage within itself, especially in society these days. But it's this push back to community. It's this push back to interconnectedness. And you can dial it down to how we interact with our neighbor, how we interact with the cashier through the checkout line, through the customer service agent, how we connect with, just anyone. And, there's certainly something that's to be said about, if those connections are doing us harm, then removing ourselves from that experience. And we can do that in a space of love and respect. But we just need to take a closer look at all of this and see where is it that we can make the change within our own experience? Where is it that we're feeding into this negativity when we could be feeding into something better, something more positive, something more ideal? And none of it's about sacrifice or being a doormat, right? It's about actually really recognizing not only our individual worth, but the worth of all living beings, the worth of the planet, the worth of all of everything that we are a part of. And truly having the opportunity to bring heaven to earth, right? We talk about heaven like it's somewhere out there, but we create our own hell, honestly. So much of our actions contribute towards this global experience that we are having. So we can always make the shift, it's always been possible, but it's not going to be one person or a handful of people or even 1,000 people. It's going to take a lot of people choosing to do better, to want better, to participate in a better way. And so really, this is how I see, this conjunction coming about. This change will happen. And like I said, it's happening. We just have to choose, how are we going to move with this energy? Are we going to fight it and try to cling to what's no longer working? Or are we going to be open to what it's trying to show us is a better way? and then make the necessary changes along the way. And I will also say, right, we do have free will always, but life also happens. And it's in those moments where life happens that is that divine intervention. It is that Jesus taking the wheel, so to speak, where things are out of our control, things are out of our hands. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the coming months and coming years. Again, because sort of the powers that be, right, like the unseen, our soul, our higher consciousness, God, the universe, whatever you subscribe to, wants a balanced earth, wants a earth to step into a higher consciousness and its inhabitants, right? And humans are truly the consciousness of the planet. So right now we are in a low vibration. These transits, these opportunities are pushing us towards that rise of consciousness and that higher octave. But again, it's our individual actions that decide that. So this shift is pushing us to, again, rebalance things. No more like putting people on pedestals, no more gurus, no more, hierarchy, no more whatever. A bunch of leaders, but people leading alongside of others. Leaders who lead alongside of one another, who have the interest of all at heart. I mean, that is really truly heaven on earth, where there's equity and equality, and not just for humans, but for all inhabitants. So, I mean, if you're sitting there thinking like, okay, that's crazy, then, I mean, you need to think bigger, and that's Neptune. You need to, expand your mind when it comes to what's possible. Don't let your ego dictate. And then Saturn's coming in to help us to do the work that's necessary to build that greater experience on this planet, not just for a few, for all. And, I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to read my book, Find Your Way in Love and Relationships with Numerology, because I really do break down all of the numbers of numerology and how they are really helping us, like through our transits, through our experiences with these energies, helping us to step into the best version of ourselves, but also our relationships, but also the collective unit, and creating this better experience for all. So yeah, a little plug there, but I really recommend that, especially at this time in history when we're being pushed in that direction of the higher octave of these energies. So yeah, ultimately what I would say is, this is going to be big energy. Buckle up. There's going to be a lot of shifts and changes and transformations and aha moments and lightning bolt, shock and awe that is going to just rip the veil away. And we are going to be forced to look, and we are going to be forced to sort of atone for what we need to atone for, but also, decide that going back to the way things have been is not an option. And so getting on that boat that says we're going in a better direction. We don't know where we're going yet, but we're going to figure it out as we go. And we're going to remain adaptable and malleable and open to the potential of what we can build. Because anything is going to be better than what we have built. And we'll know that we're on the right path when we are treating others the way we want to be treated, when we are seeing the divinity within ourselves and seeing the divinity within every living being and treating each other as such. And when we want to be a part of a world that is considerate of all, that embraces all, because we are all a part of that. So that's how we will know that we're on the right path, that we're enforcing and enacting the right change, taking into consideration what is in the highest good, or the best interest and the highest good of all, as opposed to just one person or a group of people. And I believe we can get there, because I know that the planets are on our side, the energies are on our side, the universe is on our side. It's just the human ego is powerful. And when it's an inflated ego or a wounded ego, there's a lot to overcome to strike the balance where you have a healed ego. And then the soul can merge with the ego, and the work is just incredibly beautiful. Then we have heaven on earth, and we're all contributing towards that. So that's the goal. And that's what we're all working towards, or that's what the universe and God and, again, our soul, whoever you subscribe to, is helping us to achieve on this planet. And so what I will also say before I get into the individual life path numbers is it can seem like sometimes that others are sort of forcing some kind of change or situational change onto you, or that the universe is, or the unseen is. But again, it's your own need for that change that sets up the situation. So sometimes the need for change is acted out by others, but nevertheless, it creates that change because it's caused by our own subconscious energies. We know deep down at our core, this change needs to occur. This shift has got to occur for the survival of humanity on this planet. And I know that sounds dramatic. It's not. It's not. And the astrology and the numerology backs me up on that. It is not dramatic. We have got to do something different, many things different. And these energies are going to help us to see what that is. And this Saturn and Neptune conjunction is asking us, have self-control, channel your energies into something productive, constructive, use it wisely, act decisively. And therefore, in doing so, this could be the turning point, not only in your own personal life, but in the life of humanity. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at each individual life path number to see how best to work with this energy. Life path number 1. So you all are going to be asked to show up in a way that takes into consideration others. You're meant to be showing up in a very nurturing way around this time and moving forward, right? So you're going to be working with the vibration of the 6. And so it says, where can I show up in a way that is very nurturing, supportive, that is truthful, that is full of honesty and integrity when it comes to my community and your place within the community. And I think this is really beautiful for ones because, you're the visionary. So what you create, what you put out into the world is meant to be a greater solution for others, not just self. And it's meant to sort of pave the way for something new, for something evolutionary. So you're right on target with that. But don't lose sight of, again, how your actions affect others and sort of infuse it in your vision when it comes to how can I be of service in some way? How can I show up in my community in a way where people can come to me for that greater resource, or to figure it out, to come up with a greater resource, right? Use your leadership skills and your ingenuity to create that better space. So your connectivity is going to be really important. How you connect with others, how you show up, how you shift the focus from self towards others. What is the solution? What do people need? Have those conversations. That's going to be really, really important for you and how you share your gifts at this time. And the impact can be quite significant. So you're not meant to neglect yourself, right? But you are meant to, with this conjunction, shift the focus onto how can I be of greater service? How can I show up in a nurturing way, in a supportive way? How can I be there for people who need me? Not sacrificing yourself, but showing up of service in some way. And you're going to be utilizing your gifts in order to do so. So it's actually going to be very, very fulfilling for you. And you can actually figure out some of the solutions to some of the problems you might have been facing elsewhere. But your focus is on the community, getting yourself out there, getting your work out there, getting your gifts out into the world. That not being driven by what you think other people need, but having those conversations to see what do people need? How do they need you to show up in this moment? And then figuring out how to do that. Life path number 2 and 11-2. You are going to be working with the vibration of the 7 for this conjunction. And so it's really asking you to come back to yourself, actually, and to recognize what you have value in. Like, does your value lie? Where are your gifts? How is it that you're meant to show up in the world? So there's this opportunity for greater self-discovery. And through that greater self-discovery, finding your confidence and sort of your place in the world when it comes to sharing those gifts. and then finding your outlet, finding a way to do exactly that. This 7 energy, though, also indicates being the investigator, getting to the truth of the situation. And you as 2s, right, and 11 2s, you all are meant to be the one who brings the balance, finds that where there's the disconnect and brings the harmony. And when you are confident within yourself, when you have that self-love for you, when you feel like you have a greater understanding of yourself, when you trust yourself, then you're able to show up in that confidence, right? And be that observer who can see where the disconnect is, have the deeper conversations, get to the truth of the situation, bring that balance into your relationships and the relationships that you have with others, the people that you meet day to day. You all especially are meant to be the ones who bring the balance and the unity. So if you are in something or doing something in a way that is creating divisiveness or separation, there's going to likely be a big callback that's reminding you that you are meant to take your ideas, your inspirations, and turn it into something tangible that helps to build the bridge, not burn them down. I mean, the bridges that need to be burned down, sure, but the bridges that need to be built, you are going to be at the forefront of that. And again, taking your inspirations and your ideas in order to help you to be that leader in bringing these dreams to life. And we're going to need our 2s and 11 2s to kind of break through the BS and, be able to share that information in a sort of diplomatic way where it can be digested and land with others, and it's not, doesn't get people's defenses up. So your job is going to be, you're wearing a lot of hats, but it's really about breaking through your investigative work, getting to the truth of the matter, sharing that truth in a way that can bring about greater harmony. You all are the bridge in this dynamic. So what kind of bridges do you want to contribute towards building? Life path number 3. So you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 8. So this is interesting. And I feel like for you all, this is going to be an opportunity to use your communication skills, to use your power of the word, to use your creativity in order to more greatly impact that rebalancing that we've been talking about, right? Rebalancing power, redistributing wealth, using your creativity, your resources, again, the power of the word to open doors for others, because you're going to be working with the vibration of the 8. So this is all things in the material realm: power, money, status, influence, etc. Expertise. How are you going to share your expertise, your wisdom in a way that can help open doors, open minds, get people to think about things differently and approach things differently? How are you going to use that creative life force that is in you in order to, again, have that greater impact in the world? This is not about being small. 8 energy is powerhouse energy, but it also requires you to pull from your strengths. So you're going to have to overcome fears, overcome self-doubt in order to put yourself in the spotlight or on that stage, in order to share the message, in order to share your gifts, your talents, your creativity. No hiding in the shadows. This is about putting yourself out there full force and, believing in yourself and your talents and your worth and your wisdom and sharing it in a way that can be quite impactful. But you all 3s are going to be sort of at the forefront of how we rebalance this power. What kind of world we're creating? What does that look like? How do we go about it? You all are the creatives, right? 3 energy. It's a very divinely guided life path to have. And so your creative juices are meant to be flowing and used during this time. So any way you can tap into it and, the creative outlets that you find, again, whether it's in your day-to-day or on a more global stage, however it shows up, but your voice is going to be very, very important over the coming months and years. Your creative ingenuity is going to be very, very important. So don't hide it away. 8 energy is the leadership type of energy. It's a manifesting type of energy. So your effort is going to be required. You have to show up. You have to take the reins And, call in the people who can help you to bring these things to life, whatever these things might be for you. But for you, it's about having the vision and going full force towards the vision, while also recognizing that, how can you circulate your wealth, your creativity, your status, your power, your expertise, your wisdom, so that all can benefit from it. That's going to be really, really important over the coming years. Life path number 4 and 22 fours. Okay, so we're going to be working with 9 energy. This is really powerful, right? Because 4s and 22 fours are the builders. This is usually a very wise type of energy. There's like legacy building here. There's longevity. 4s are the builders. And so we are meant to look at the foundation and see where the cracks are, and then figure out how to mend those cracks or completely dismantle and rebuild. So this is going to require us to be very heart-led, to follow our intuition, to recognize when we need to shift gears, because 4s can very much be stuck in our ways. But we need to recognize when systems are not working, when institutions are not serving, when, being overly organized or overly rigid is actually sabotaging us and our efforts. And because it's that 9 energy, we've got to have the conversations. We have to reach out to the communities. We have to be a part of those greater communities in order to see what is needed and to recognize what the solution truly is. Not what we think it is, but what the solution truly is through those conversations. And this is really important work for 4s and 22 fours, right? Because a lot of times we can get very stuck in our ways and we can see the solution, and then we start to move towards the solution, but it might not be the solution that is the best for all involved. So I think that we'll likely see our work in the community sort of, continue to grow. And we need to be having those conversations and listen to those conversations and try new things, think outside the box. And when we go to sort of building something solid or teaching something or sharing that wisdom or whatever it may be, we have to take in consideration how our actions, what it is that we're building will affect more than just ourselves. Because that 9 energy is about the all. It's about how can we be of greater service in the world? How can we step into a purpose greater than just self? So these are going to be the things that we need to continuously look at. 4s, again, notoriously will have a great solution, but we tend to work harder, not smarter. And usually that solution first serves ourselves a lot of times until we kind of get to the higher octave of the 4. But this is really pushing us to do the work that's needed in order to step into that purpose greater than self. And we can only do that through the conversations and through the understanding and through, again, having that wider perspective and that seeing the world through that bigger lens, from that seeking the understanding through the conversations to understand what's actually needed before we put in the effort and make it happen. 4s are again, sort of at the front lines of all this because we are the builders. We are the ones who are going to build that solid structure, that new foundation. And we have the sort of perseverance to do it and to do it really, really well. But we can't do it alone. We have to bypass that hyper independence, come back to how can we collaborate, can we connect with others, have the conversations, and seek that understanding so that we're building something that's actually really, really useful. Because, it's the institutions and sort of the systems that we built, not just 4s, but humanity built, that we've been stuck in for a while and that are no longer working, that we need to dismantle and then rebuild something better. Really beautiful energy for 4s. We just have to make sure that what we're doing is, again, considerate for all, and that we are stepping into a purpose greater than self, and we will satisfy the energy of this conjunction. Life path number 5. Oh man, I love this for you all. I really, really love to see this. So you all are working with the vibration of the 10-1. And so, you are this energy. This is your energy that we're talking about with this conjunction, right? It's 5 energy. You all are at the forefront of this. And so it is all about how can we, right aligned with the nature of 5. How can we be more progressive? How can we think outside the box? How can we sort of take chances and take the risks in order to create that reality that we want to see. You all are meant to be the leaders. You're working with 10-1 energy. So you are the leaders in this movement. Help the rest of us to, see a better way. Help the rest of us to think outside of the box, to be more spontaneous, to break free from those restrictions and those sort of, chains that bind us, that keep us stuck, that keep us in this loop. Fives are the sort of ahead of their time visionaries, whether you recognize it about yourself or not. And you all have a knack for wanting greater freedom and breaking free from the labels and the stipulations and rules that keep us in this pattern. So you all are going to be called to the forefront to show people how to do it better, that it's possible. To not be so sort of blinded by the tunnel vision that we found ourselves in. And because there's this 0 vibration there as well, again, it's a clean slate. Like we're having an opportunity to not necessarily start from scratch, but really kind of very, very close to that, very close start to from scratch. And you all are going to be the ones who are saying, hey, let's try this. Let's do this. Let's show up in this way. So this is a time for you as an individual to just show up in full expression, to show up in full creativity, to do the things that, allow you to experience life with all your senses and to open your mind and express yourself in a way that feels truly authentic and true and freeing, because that's the road we're trying to be pushed on. Like we're trying to move towards greater authenticity and, a sense of autonomy, but also that greater unity. And when we're all showing up with our unique expression, right? When we're showing up in a way that feels true to who we are, then we become that melting pot that has the power to create something better. So fives, really, y'all are just ahead of your time in this world, and the rest of us are trying to catch up. And you all are kind of like, again, just sort of ahead of the curve, showing us like, hey, this is possible over here. You don't have to stay stuck in the muck. This is possible. Come here. So yeah, just this is, if ever there was a push for fives to be fully themselves, to just fully embrace their authenticity, their weirdness, their uniqueness, this is the time. This is the time. So if you hesitate to share your gifts, your talents, put yourself out there, you have to find your way through that and overcome that, because you are needed now more than ever. And so you all will play such a big role in changing the way that people think about things, changing the way that we have done things, showing us that there is a better way. So no pressure, but you all are at the head of the team here. You all are the ones sort of really, truly cheering us on, like, yeah, finally, y'all are catching up to us. You know what I mean? So beautiful energy here. Love to see this for fives as being the ones. You're going to be different. You're going to look different than, it's going to be different for people, what you have to offer. But that is what's needed now. That is what's needed. So embrace that and keep pushing it out into the world. Life path number 6 and life path number 33-6. So you are going to be working with the vibration of the 11-2. And so this conjunction is pushing you to become that inspirational leader within your own life and to follow your inspirations, to follow what brings you joy, what lights you up, what allows you to beautify your space, to beautify your environment, but ultimately to do what inspires you. And through that, you will, by default, inspire others to do what inspires them. And when we're leading from a place of inspiration or being in spirit, we are automatically connected to our higher selves, to that higher consciousness. And what we bring through that inspiration can have that incredible impact of lifting the vibration through our presence, through our work, through our contribution. So for you all, you're really being pushed to tap into your creativity, to that, again, what inspires you. And if you don't know what inspires you, then this is a beautiful time for curiosity, for playing in the realm of imagination, for connecting to your inner child, to doing the things that make you smile, make you laugh, bring you joy, and allowing yourself and giving yourself permission to do more of that. And the more that you do that, the more that you say yes to what inspires you, and the more that you say no to what takes your inspiration away or leaves you feeling drained. And that includes relationships, work, how you commit, what you commit to. The more that you do that, and the more that you say yes to things that uplift you, empower you, inspire you, the more impact you're going to have in this world, positive impact you're going to have in this world, and the more positive your experience is going to become. So really beautiful here, beautiful cycle here to be an innovator, to be a creative, to be the one who's able to, again, see where peace, balance, harmony, truth, honesty are needed, and to be the one who creates the space that can facilitate that. And 6s are so set up to do that. I mean, this is such a beautiful part of your nurturing nature, to create the space, perhaps, to create the beautiful space, the loving space where people can come together without judgment or animosity or friction. So it's an incredibly beautiful cycle for you all to really tap into and embrace your nurturing spirit, but to do it in a way that feels inspiring. Because if you don't feel inspired, then it's just going to leave you feeling resentful, right? Or like you're being taken advantage of. And that kind of works in the opposite effect. So beautiful time to come back to yourself, recognize your worth and your value, set healthy standards, accept those healthy standards, and say yes to the things that are going to bring more balance into your life. And again, it's going to push you through your creativity, through your talents, through your gifts to bring greater balance into the world. Ultimately, this cycle is asking 6s and 33 6s to really step up to the call for taking that leadership role when it comes to diplomacy. And again, being the mediator, being the one who sees where there is disconnect and bringing the connection, and creating the space so that people feel safe to come to that environment and seek understanding or share their concerns, and knowing that it's a safe space to do that. Also, I will say it's going to be really, really, really important for you, 33 6s and 6s, to continue to nurture yourself, self-care, speaking up for yourself, advocating for yourself, asking for support, accepting that support. Like, you are not meant to do this alone. You will likely fall into like some kind of leadership role when it comes to this, and lead by example, but you are not meant to take it all on yourself and be that island. So make sure that you are doing self-care, seeking the help and the assistance and the nurturing that you need as well. Life path number 7, you are going to be working with a vibration of the 12-3 for this conjunction. And so this is that kind of energy that's pushing you from outside of the shadows. This is that kind of energy that is pushing you to get yourself out into the world. Your work, your presence, your wisdom, your guidance, all needed now. 7s, you are the ultimate bridge, right? Between the seen and the unseen. You are meant to take your ideas and your inspirations and turn them into something tangible in this lifetime, while trusting yourself and finding faith in yourself and the courage to do that, and not become the hermit, not to shy away from sort of the spotlight, not to shy away from the human experience, so to speak. And this 3 energy, it's tapping you back into your creativity, the creative flow within you. And it's begging of you to share that with the world in whatever way feels aligned for you. You're not meant to do something that doesn't feel good for you. You're meant to tap into the things that you're good at, that feel aligned, where you feel like you're the expert, where you feel like you have something to contribute. You're meant to tap into that, and you're meant to find the outlet in order to do that. And in doing so, you create that bridge between the seen and the unseen. And it's interesting because when I think about Saturn and Neptune, it feels like 7 energy in a way, right? Because you basically have the seen, right? Saturn, the physical, working with the unseen, Neptune, the spiritual. And for you all, being life path sevens, you are that bridge. Like this is a journey of being that bridge. This is why I see a lot of sevens who are like Reiki masters or vivid dreamers, and they have a prophetic dream and then they follow that dream and they turn it into something real. And so that is this journey for you all. You are the epitome of the magician in this lifetime. And with this Saturn-Neptune conjunction, you are meant to fully tap into that over the coming years. And that's going to be how you fully contribute towards this movement, towards this change that we're meant to see. But you have to tap into your optimism, your joy, your idealism. You have to tap into how you express yourself that feels most powerful, that feels most empowering, that feels most creative. And you might struggle with trusting yourself, trusting your decisions, trusting others, whatever that might come up as an obstacle. But you have to find your way through that so that you can express yourself in the way that feels most authentic and unique for you. Your creativity is going to be like really just pulsing through your veins at this time. And so again, find the outlets to bring it to life. That's ultimately what Saturn with Neptune is trying to do, bring our dreams to life. And for you all, you are the dreamers. I mean, you're meant to, again, have those dreams, those inspirations, and then find the outlet to bring them to life or find the way, right? You all are also the investigators, getting to the truth of the situation, breaking through the illusion. And how you express yourself, whether it's through your words or your writing, or again, your art, however you share that creativity through again, your authenticity, it can really contribute towards this change that we're looking to see over the course of the coming years. You're meant to be an inspiration through your art. And art takes many, many forms. It can be the mathematician, it can be the investigator, it can be like a painter or a singer or a writer. So whatever your art is, whatever you feel innately good at, whatever you feel deeply connected to, this is the time to put it out there. This is the time to launch it. It doesn't matter who buys into it, who connects with it. It's about you expressing yourself, your true self. And the people who are meant to find you will find you. But you have to move through any self-doubt that may creep up around this time, or any of those sort of emotional highs and lows that might creep up during this time. And you also have to kind of move through if you're overly cynical or critical of self or others, or if you're fearful of that criticism, you have to find your way through it. This moment is asking, it's pushing you in that direction. Now, I know that sevens tend to, typically, for the most part, like to kind of be, behind the scenes and observing and kind of, taking it all in. But this moment is asking you to step on the stage, to be front and center, and to share all of that wisdom, that depth, that deep insight that you have with the world in some way, with your community in some way, and to speak your truth, whatever that truth may be, because there's going to be people who will connect with it. There's going to be people who can heal from it. There's going to be people who it will inspire them to do the same. So very, very powerful cycle for you all. Very highly creative cycle, very much connecting you back to your sense of self and helping you to not minimize yourself, but really spread your wings and, just scream from the rooftops, whatever it is, whatever wisdom it is that you have to share. Because there's going to be people that need to hear it throughout this journey. So this 3 energy is beckoning the sage off the mountain to share the wisdom that you've acquired throughout your journey so far. It's very much needed, sevens. And also I will say too, with sevens, a lot of times y'all can get real serious real quick because there's a lot of like deep analysis happening behind the scenes with you all. But this is a time to really tap into your buoyancy, your fun, your joy, what brings you joy, what makes you happy, what fills you up. Really important to continue to come back to that. Let your inner child lead. What would 6-year-old you want to do in this moment? Give yourself permission to do that and to find joy from that. And through that, you will likely stumble upon an outlet for that greater creativity and self-expression that, again, is very much needed in the world. Life Path 8 and Life Path 44-8. So I don't want to try to set you guys up for martyrdom here, but you all are going to be working with the vibration of the 13-4 for this conjunction. And I really see 8s and 44-8s as being very important leaders in this movement. And one of the reasons for that is because so much of the energy that we are kind of up against, globally, as we move to kind of create this sort of new world, is we're up against the shadow side or the dark side of the 8 energy. Control, manipulation, power hungry, greed, domination, hierarchy, stepping on others to get ahead, looking out for number one as opposed to what's best for all. So, for you all, these are also themes that you have to kind of move through in this lifetime and overcome or be confronted with. So really, like on a grander scale, on a grander stage, you're seeing it kind of play out. And it's going to be up to 8s, to you all, and 44-8s to come with the higher octave of the 8, which again is integrity, making sure that we all win. If one wins, we all win. We're doing this as, a collective teamwork. We're working for the same goal. If I'm successful, you're going to be successful because I'm going to find a way to circulate that abundance so that it uplifts, empowers, inspires all involved. Your work is meant to uplift, empower, inspire others in some way. 8s have a tendency, or a lot of times have a tendency, to either step into some kind of power, money, extreme wealth, abundance, status, influence, etc. And you are absolutely meant to use that for good and create those power balances, like equal the playing field, so to speak. So your work in this world, how you contribute, whether it's, through your corporate job or your business or your philanthropy work, or whether it's through raising your children or how you treat others, this is such a powerful time for you all to be a huge part of the transformation. The 13-4 is basically Pluto energy. And we've been talking about Pluto and Aquarius for, since Pluto went into Aquarius the year before, 2024, I believe it was. Anyway, and so it's about that death, transformation, rebirth. It's about the old systems crumbling and the new ones being reborn and rebuilt or built. And it's the opportunity to build something beautiful from something not so beautiful, with persistence and dedication and overcoming extreme challenges in order to do so. So you all are kind of at the helm of this. Like you all are stepping into sort of this phoenix rising type of energy, or you have the opportunity to. You can always choose to kind of go to the dark side and know there are not cookies there, but you have to decide that. And for you all, it's interesting, right? Because it's a part of, really your legacy, like your time on this earth, because your life path is 8. And so with 13-4 energy being at the sort of the cornerstone energy that you're going to be working with from this conjunction, this is all about, again, dismantling what needs to be dismantled, finding ways to, we need you all to rebalance the power. We need you to bring justice. We need you to use your expertise, your wisdom, your power, your status, your influence, your abundance, to be the leaders in creating something better, something beautiful from something not so beautiful. And it's going to require you to pull from your inner strength. It's going to require you to overcome your own ego, right? And not really necessarily overcome your own ego, but to heal your ego. right? If it's inflated or if it's wounded, you have to do that work. The moment is requiring you to do that work to balance your own ego out, to have a healthy, balanced ego, and to merge that with the very, very spiritual side of yourself. Because there's a lot of spiritual energy with 8s. And you're meant to merge those energies and be the leaders in this movement, truly. I mean, there's a lot of leaders in this movement with these numbers. But for you all, it's like you're part of the reconstruction, right? You're part of that crew that's going to come in and help us to see the greater vision. And not only that, but like help us to truly make it happen. Because that's the beauty with 8s. Y'all are great builders and manifestors and can make things happen if you put your mind to it. So your job is going to be to see truly where there's the injustice and like what is needed. How can you show up and how can you get your team together, right, of the other numbers to come in so that y'all can, or we all can build something better. But we need your vision. We need your expertise. Like y'all are the business-minded leaders. So, you know, this is your calling at this time in history. And again, you just dial it down to your own personal experience. How can you do this from the personal, from your personal landscape? How can you show up in that way? Because the more 8s that are showing up in this way, the more we start to see it collectively. So a lot is riding on 8s for this conjunction and in the years that follow, especially with this 13-4 energy. But the beauty of this is, and I always equate the 13-4 to either the pearl or the lotus flower, with persistence, with holding the vision, with calling in the reinforcements, with recognizing your limitations and pulling in people who have strengths in those areas, with keeping your eye on the prize and not giving up too quickly, not letting the circumstances dictate what is possible, you'll see your lotus flower will bloom and your pearl will be delivered. So it's just going to require that dedication and to stay committed to that. But if you are struggling with a lack of confidence, self-doubt in sharing your personal gifts, your expertise, you've got to find your way through that. You've got to figure out how to take the first steps in order to overcome that so that you will share your gifts. So you will share your expertise. That's what we need in this moment. And that's what you're being called to do. And you will be a part of the rebuilding process, a big part of it. So very powerful energy, 8s and 44 8s. 9s. Well, my life path 9s, this moment is asking a lot of you. Are you surprised? So you all are going to be working with a vibration of the 14-5. And it's interesting because this 14-5 really does bring in, it's sort of like devil energy, where it's trying to show you like where you are overly restricting yourself, where you're sabotaging yourself, where you're keeping yourself small, where you're keeping yourself stuck. And it could be like circumstances are like helping to create that environment, and you've got to continue to persevere to find your way out of it. But because you all are going to be working ultimately with the 5 energy, you all are working with the vibration of this conjunction. So, this conjunction is working with the 5 energy. So are you all. So you are literally going to be sort of at the forefront, along with some of the other numbers, in being that change agent in the world. And what I love about this is because 9s, y'all are the humanitarians. So your life path energy, the energy you are being asked to step into in this lifetime and master and do something profound and beautiful with, is literally the energy of the direction that the planet is meant to move towards. We are absolutely meant to embrace the vibration of the 9. So for you all to be working with the vibration of the 5, which is again the change agent of this movement, that's really saying something. So what I need for you all to do, or what this moment needs for you all to do, is to truly come back to yourself, to embrace your gifts. Like, what are you good at? What do you feel drawn towards? What do you feel connected to? And, how is it that, what outlet can you use or outlets can you use in order to share those gifts, to bring that light, to be of service, to step into a a purpose greater than self. So perhaps it's through creativity, perhaps it's through music, through your artwork, through accounting, anything that you do that is of service, that is creating peace, harmony, bounty, abundance for others, as well as for yourself. You are in this vibration. But there's sort of this caveat, right? 9s sometimes can fall more towards being more cynical, more sort of a little bit more judgmental, especially as you move through this journey, because life hands you a lot of lemons and you have to figure out what the heck to do with them. And, lemons are sour, so it's easy to become a little sour through the experiences that you have to move through in this lifetime. But this vibration and this conjunction and a lot of the energies and experiences you'll move through in life are helping you to come back to that state of divinity, that state of, again, seeing the divinity within yourself and the divinity within others. And then it creates that presence of unconditional love. And unconditional love is not about being a doormat or subservient or sacrificial. It's about being empowered and showing up in ways that empower, uplift, and inspire others in some way. Now, again, this cycle is asking you to be progressive, evolutionary, think outside the box, to be open-minded. So you're going to have to overcome any of that more cynical side of yourself, any of the judgmental sides of yourself, and really see this new opportunity or this new experience as an opportunity to do things differently, try new things, be more spontaneous, be more adventurous, more focused on what needs to change and how you can be an active participant in that change. This is about fearlessness. This is about freedom and breaking free from the restraints, the restrictions. So if you're somebody who is overly deprives yourself or overly restricts yourself or puts yourself in a self-imposed prison, there's going to be a cycle here, a period here where you've got to find your way out of that. You've got to break free from that because this moment is requiring that of you. It needs for you, 9s, to lead by example. You all are sort of the poster children in your higher octave, like for what we are moving towards or what we are meant to be moving towards. Is ultimately 9 energy. It's that energy of, like Christ consciousness, divine love, all of those things, forgiveness, consideration, community, working together, having the best interest of all at heart. This is the work. This is the job at hand. And for you all, again, it's going to require you to think ahead of the curve, to think outside the box, to do things differently, to take a chance, to take a risk, to not take life so seriously, which can also be very difficult for 9s, and to find the levity, to find your joy, to connect to your joy, again, to take the leap of faith, to feel liberated, to help to liberate others. And in that process, you're going to have to overcome any self-indulgence, any living in excess, right? Living beyond your means, any addictive tendencies, lacking focus or initiative, any fear or restriction, any drama, any procrastination, any allowing yourself to be the doormat or sacrificing yourself or trying to be the martyr. These are all things that you'll have to kind of work with. And then you will tap into, again, your own gifts, your own, the beauty that you bring to this planet that you're meant to share in this lifetime. And you're going to be like at the forefront, leading by example, like showing people why it's so important to love thyself and love thy neighbor, why it's so important to find that forgiveness first for self and then for others. All of the things with 9 energy. And again, I think I said this in the intro, but I highly recommend, especially for 9s, to read my book, Find Your Way in Love and Relationships with Numerology, because it's not just about like romantic relationships. It's about coming back to ourselves as we come together with others. And I talk about each number and how, we can embrace the energy of the numbers in order to do that. And the 9, chapter 9 is really like the goal in a lot of it, right? It's the culmination point. And so again, for you all, no pressure, but you are absolutely, this is your moment to truly shine. I say moment, like this is going to be years, right? That we continue down this road. But this is your opportunity to overcome any self-doubt, overcome any cynicism, overcome any pessimism, overcome any fears that you may have, and really truly shine your light. Be that presence that you came here to be. Find the outlets that allow you for that light to shine through. And you're going to end up probably being some of the significant leaders in this movement as we let go of the old, right? And embrace the new. So a lot of people are counting on you, 9s. And if it makes you feel any better, my maturity number is 9. So, our maturity number often steps up to be very much like your life path number. So yeah, I'm embracing this with you all. But the key is, don't forget to fill up your own cup. Don't forget to find the levity. Don't forget to find your joy and create your joy, to take the risk, and yeah, just express yourself in the way that feels most true and authentic. Because ultimately that's what 5 wants us to do, that freedom of self-expression. And for you all, taking into consideration how that's going to help to empower, uplift, and inspire the masses. Very beautiful energy, 9s. Wouldn't expect anything less from y'all.